I'm such a massive fan of the show. It was my favorite show of last year. I think what you folks are doing is something so special
Thank
because
you.
you're really like an acting troupe, like an old school troupe of actors. Because like one of my favorite things is like if you look at like every character, just like a picture of every character, and you told somebody what the show is about, and then they had no idea what it was, and they were like, "That sounds crazy," and I'm
Yeah.
like, "It does," but it's so. Oh my god, I'm obsessed with the show. So first of all, thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
Are you
Uh,
kidding? Thank you. Thank you for having me.
yeah, I had the pleasure of speaking with a couple of your castmates last season, and I'm very happy to talk to you. And I guess a general question that I had is, I feel like we are sort of living through a golden age of network
Yes.
ensembles, and I think Ghosts definitely is one of those. Abbott is one of those. Superstore was
Yeah.
one. Um, just sort of with the comments that I was saying about how like crazy the premise of the show is. Can you sort of talk to me like in the ensembleness of the show? Sort of like what do you love? What is the best thing about it?
I would have to say the best thing about Ghosts is honestly going to work every day feels like the first day of summer camp. It is an incredible experience. We are having so much fun. It feels
Yeah.
kind of illegal to have this much fun because
Mhm.
you hear about these shows where the cast they have these rivalries and people are upset and it's
Mhm.
toxic. That's not happening with our
Yeah,
show, and we really are, theater kids, comedy kids first, and getting to use our
you can
imagination
tell.
and be able to
Yeah.
improv and work together, and being led by our incredible showrunners, Joe Port and Joe Wiseman, and these writers that we have.
Hmm.
It feels like a really special experience that we're also having. And we felt that from the first day we all got together. It was like electricity.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'm grateful that I have the chance to be on this show and that I get to be Alberta, who is this hot mess with a heart of gold, 1920s
Yeah.
era ghost, but to also have her interact with these other incredible ghosts as well. I mean, it's a dream come true.
Yeah, there's something. This is already a show. It's only been 2 seasons, and
Yeah.
already it's a show where like everybody has those shows where it's like you put it on just because it makes you feel good. And this show, is
Yeah.
one of those shows. My husband just said yesterday because we were watching the show again, and he was just like, they have to be having such a blast.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's definitely coming through for viewers. Yes. I wanted to know from about Alberta. I love that this season. I've seen the whole season, and I love this wide, beautiful arc that they gave you about learning about Alberta's murder and
Yeah.
solving it. Um, I guess I wanted to know, like, since it's 22 episodes, I think,
Yeah.
such with such a a large cast, what that kind of feels like to introduce the idea of solving her murder at the beginning. We meet it at the middle, and then by the end we have this insane resolution.
Yeah.
Uh, but I was just wondering to have that growth just in one season, the whole season. I was wondering if you could talk
Yeah.
about.
Absolutely. Well, what I'll say, Joey, first and foremost, is when I booked this role in the thick of the pandemic, pre-vaccine,
Mm-hmm.
right? It was a self-tape audition, and
Uh,
I was wearing my 30th birthday dress, a hat that I had from a production of Major Barber that I did in somebody's basement in Chicago, and my mom's little shake and go wig. Okay.
mm-hmm.
So the evolution from that to now feels quite surreal to me. Season
Mm-hmm.
one was my first time as a series regular. And I don't know if you
Yeah.
know this, but I actually was a replacement. There was another actor that was playing
I
Alberta
did not know that. Oh my god.
pre-pandemic. And then they said, we're not going to do the show anymore. And then in October, they said, we're going to bring the show back. So there were a couple of actors that weren't able to do it anymore from the original cast.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so knowing that I was coming in as a replacement, I had a ton of imposter syndrome season
Oh
one. Can I
wow.
even do this? Am I really right for the role? I hope I can just do a good job, right?
Mhm.
But then I also, in that imposter syndrome, I was able to combat that and understanding this is a rare opportunity that I have as a plus size Black woman, because a
Mhm.
lot of the roles I had prior were occupationally driven. I was playing the
Mhm.
sassy truck driver, the
Yep.
disgruntled librarian, the
Mhm.
woman who had no man, no desires,
Mhm.
and I know how to play that very well because that's what the industry stereotyped me to do. But now this was an opportunity to play someone that not only just had these fabulous and hilarious one-liners that just gut punch you,
Yeah.
but also a woman from a very rich time period of the 1920s Harlem Renaissance, which is so, I mean, iconic for Black people and Black artists specifically.
Mhm.
So with that imposter syndrome, I said, listen, you also have a responsibility to give those Black artists that came before you their just due with this performance. And so I'm
Mhm.
excited for the opportunity that I've had specifically in season 2, because they've made this murder mystery an entire arc. And I said, listen, I made a commitment to myself. I said, we're going to bring that same Alberta confidence into each and every one of these performances. This character has taught me how to be confident. It's taught me how to feel comfortable in my own body. When I first came to Los Angeles, I was afraid to be on television because I didn't want my double chin to show on the screen.
Mhm.
Now I'm like, let it flow, let it flow. So I'm extremely excited to have had this season-long arc with Alberta, and to also peel back the layers of her not only being seen as the larger than life jazz singer that we know, that she gets on the ghost nerves and she's the
Mhm.
mother hen and things like that, but we also really get to see why she wanted to be famous, why she wanted to make her family proud, what makes her tick, why she kind of steers clear from being romantic with Pete and her
Yeah.
fears regarding that, how hard it was for her in the 1920s as a plus size Black singer during that
Mhm.
time, and what she was fighting with, her wanting to become a parent and dying too young. And so we see that
Oh,
in the
that's
Descendant episode with her niece. So we
Mhm.
really do get these delicious, fully realized character traits this season for this character, because I know for me, especially particularly for broadcast TV, my fear is that because I am a plus size Black woman, that this character would turn into a mammy stereotype because she
Mm.
is a singing, dancing, you know what I mean,
Yeah,
Black.
yeah.
But the beauty of this show is Joe Port and Joe Wiseman, they listen to the diverse actors that they have. They
Mhm.
also have an incredibly diverse writers' room. And that's when that phrase
Right.
representation matters comes into effect.
Mhm.
It's not just on camera, it's behind
Yeah.
the scenes as well. And they're open to hearing us out, collaboration. And so I can firmly stand and saying there is no stereotype in this character. She is fully realized and standing in her grounded truth in this season. I'm so excited for audiences to see what the finale looks like.
Yeah, because I mean, the thing that I kept thinking about is, it touches on some things. We just had the movie of Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, so people
Mhm.
a name in their brain. It's mentioned in this season.
Yeah.
There's a moment, and I mean, this will go live after the finale airs, I think, but there's a very brief second in um when we find out what's it called, who done it, the who done it,
Yeah.
but when we find out what happens, when it's in a flashback and we're seeing you in the dressing room, and
Yes.
before you put your wig on, and that's the first time we've seen that, and that sort of was just like a really great indication that these ghosts, while they are incredibly funny, they're not caricatures of people. They are real people with these beautifully realized lives. And it's sort of like, I'm just getting chills just thinking about it. It's just sort of like, um, there's so much care that I can tell is in the writing that,
Yeah.
that you folks are allowed to do in the performances. That's like a tiny detail, like almost blink and you'll miss it.
I
Oh,
cannot believe you brought that up, because that detail
that's
specifically
great.
is not written in the script.
It's not.
It's
Oh,
not. It is not written in the script. That scene was supposed to be me and Earl do our little kiss, and that's.
yeah.
But the reason I fought for that detail to be in that scene specifically
Mm-hmm.
is because I remember watching Viola Davis in How to Get Away with Murder many years ago when
Mm-hmm.
Homegirl was stripping off those eyelashes and took off that makeup and then finally took that wig down. And I remember sitting with my homegirls in Chicago screaming at the television because we had never seen a Black woman go bare on broadcast television. Leave that for the streamers, leave that for HBO,
Yeah.
but we never seen, we always see the put together. We see the Olivia Pope, we see the wigs and the weaves and the fabulous. But that level of being stripped down was true vulnerability for me. And so it was my nod to Viola Davis, but also character-wise, Alberta, even in the preparation of her death, because that's really what that moment is. It is her embalming. Do you know what I mean? When the dead body goes to the funeral home, they get to do their own makeup and they get to do the hair. That may not necessarily be what the dead person wanted.
Yeah.
The woman as a character, we know she's fabulous. We know she's a diva. We know she's self-centered. She would have wanted to have had a hand in preparing herself for her own death. And so that moment of her putting the wig on is getting ready for that final moment of her life. And then the last little moment, which I love, which we added just through collaboration and talking, is her saying, oh, you know what? Let me put my hat on. That was same little red hat I auditioned with in my first original audition. It is the hat that Thorfinn be coming at Alberta about all the time. God. But it is such a character defining wardrobe item for her. And so that's just her last little moment to say, I'm ready for whatever life or the afterlife has in store for me.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God, that moment in How to Get Away with Murder, I shook everything. And I was obsessed with that show when it came out.
Utterly screaming because, you know, for Black women, our hair is everything. This is all crown, you know? And so to see, you know, it's almost like you're able to see the Wizard of Oz. Once you took that with that, so it was amazing. And so I think when you're able to strip back in that way, and that's one of the things I love so much about Viola Davis. I had the honor of working with her and Kerry Washington in Scandal very briefly in the crossover episode. Like, those women are iconic powerhouses, and what they were able to do for Black women on broadcast TV changed the game of what we can be seen as, changed the game of what status wise, we could be messy, you know, we didn't have to be put together all the time. We could be in all these relationships and, you know, and still be on top. You know, they changed what it meant to be as a strong Black woman on television. So I'm grateful to them. I owe everything to them and hope I'm making them proud with my portrayal as Alberta.
Yeah, it's sort of like that moment specifically. I was just like, I'm a little cisgender white gay guy, and I was like, and I could feel what that moment meant, and I was like, and then like I went on Twitter and was like, kaboom, and everything. So exactly, I did want to ask about Alberta and the idea of forgiveness, just because it's very important for the end of this season. And obviously there is some comedy about the what could happen to Hetty if Alberta decided to be go a different way, I will say. But it was there's something about the way that you say, like, can we still go on our walks? And it just, I don't know, that sort of broke my heart a little bit, just because again, on paper, like, Hetty and Alberta from two different periods, like, they should not be friends. But I guess I wanted to know, I guess, if a situation like that would happen 50 years into their death, do you think that Alberta would be able to grant forgiveness like that?
I have to say that the most exciting thing about these last two episodes is really getting to explore Hetty and Alberta's relationship.
Yeah.
And because we didn't find out about Thomas being involved until we got that script. I remember we were filming, we got the script, and in the table read, I screamed out loud. I said, "Oh my God!" I'm like, sorry, let me pull it together. So the great thing about Rebecca and I is that we are theater girls. So we love backstory and dramaturgy. And we started putting the puzzle pieces together for ourselves and for our characters. And what we just realized is that, and we talk about this all the time, and this is something that, obviously the CBS, we don't see this live on the show, but as actors, this is what informs our characters, is that for these two women to have become friends, must have been a rocky road in the beginning, right? Oh, yeah. We have this Victorian era woman who had children working for her under these really shady labor laws. She hates the Irish. And if she hates the Irish, who else does she not be able to stand to, right? And then we have this very confident, empowered Black woman from the jazz era who is just like flamboyant. You know what I mean? She's larger than life, and she's not going to take no mess. So when she dies in this Victorian era lady's house, what is going to happen there? And that's a backstory that I think is the most exciting and that we can really talk about, and how over these last 100 years, they've been able to cultivate not only a love for each other, but a mutual respect beyond race, because they've been dead. You know what I mean? They've been dead for 100 years. So, but I imagine that first moment being quite difficult when they first met. And so we're seeing as an audience, these people 100 years, 1,000 years later, after they've dealt with the muck and the mess. And now we're going to also see an unraveling of this friendship that they've worked so hard to have. We see in season 1, Alberta gets Hetty to vote for the first time. You know what I mean? There's the respect that's there. And now I think that the thing that's most exciting is, I like to say it's kind of like Alberta's, a small part of Alberta's reparation. And the fact that we get to see Hetty beg. We get to see this high-status Victorian age woman beg this Black lady ghost to be her friend. And I think that is delicious. I think it's delicious. And I can't wait. I know the audiences may not get that deep, but
they will. I think they will. Yeah.
But it's fantastic. But it's also fantastic to have the forgiveness aspect of it, of just like, listen, sis, we've been through so much for these last 100 years. Yes, this is a rough patch for us, and all friendships go through a rough patch after somebody lies, or, the trust is not there anymore. But this is how we're going to rebuild. And I'm excited to see what that looks like for them in season 3 as well, too.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I sort of was so sad when I finished the season. I was like, I have to wait, and I don't know. Shit. I just want to say one last thing before I let you go. There's something about, I feel like I learned a lot about, I used to be sort of very passive person. I think the pandemic really taught me I don't have time to take anybody's crap. And I think of that every time I watch Ghost, and I think of Alberta. And something else that I used to be a little bit shy about is I'm a very boy crazy person. I fall in love with 10 boys every day.
Yes.
And I don't know how I'd forgotten, but when on my rewatch, and I was just like, I would love to sit back with Alberta and just drool over Jason Momoa.
Oh my God, are you kidding?
Yeah. And it's just,
she is sex crazed. She loves it. That's why her and Flower are good, because Flower gets it. And that's the 1920s. She's open. They were like, prohibition, what? We're just on the ground. Okay. So I think that's the beauty of her, is that she had these sexual escapades with these bootleggers.
Yeah.
And the Al Capone loved her and had crushes on her, and these gangsters. And honestly, as a plus size Black woman, that is delicious to play, because listen, even though my confidence is a little, I always knew I was fine.
Yeah. I said that. Yeah, I was just like, I don't know if anybody is not interested in me or something. It's like, I'm cute. It doesn't matter. If you don't want it, it's your loss.
Okay. Yeah. So like, I just love that they didn't play the, oh, she's downtrodden and
Hmm.
she's a meek jazz singer. No, this lady knew exactly. She know how to rope them.
Yeah,
She knew how to get
she's
them.
hot and she knows it. And I love
Yeah,
it.
she knows it. And she just peacocks about the house with all them daggone feathers. And she wants to
Hmm.
be seen. She wants to be heard. And I think that's um the beauty of this character is that she's just
Yeah.
so fully realized and so full of life. And it's exciting to play her every week on the show.
Yeah, and we're like hungry for more. It's not like, all right, 2 seasons, it's done. You know, everything's like, no, there's going to be more. I can't wait for them to peel back more layers.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Danielle, so much. Thank you for your generosity and your time. And
Oh my God.
I
Thank
could talk
you.
about this show forever. So,
First of
um,
all, thank you so much for watching our show, for supporting, for this
oh
interview.
yeah,
I just had a blast. I'm such a huge fan of this publication. So like I can't wait to read it and
thanks.
see it when it comes out. So thank you again for taking the time out to interview me.
Yeah, of course. And thank you for being so positive and lovely on social media. You're like one of the people that is just like, if you need like, you know, light or something fun and nice, your Twitter feed is one of the very few and a cesspool of crap. So
Thank
yeah.
you. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Stay safe. Have a good rest of your day. Thank you.
All right. Have a good one.